Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello, Connie. Hope I'm getting a good signal. It might be a low signal from my studio. Good afternoon. Connie Roberts is here to say hello to everybody and introduce today's live stream. Okay. I've had a lot of people asking about the subconscious vampire. And let me see if I can get this into this thing here. Oops. I think I just screwed up my visual. All right. Hang on, folks. Bear with me, to see. Oh, look, Rihanna's phone isn't even, working. What's the deal?
I don't know.
Sign into chat.
Is it frozen?
Oh, no. We got people out there that can see anything? Hold on, I'm going to take it out of this thing for a second. Hello, everybody. Let's see what we got going here. Jason, we got you out there. I'm looking for comments if people can see things. Okay, it was frozen on Rihanna's phone, but it doesn't look like it was frozen on your guys' phones or whatever thing you're viewing it on. So what I want to do is I just want to get it centered here so you can at least see it. So we're going to show you today the Subcon vampire. And what is the vampire? Well, it's an oscillator with an LFO attached to it. And basically, if you want to look at it in the simplest way, this section right here, coarse and fine, is the tuning of the main oscillator. This here is also the setting for this LFO and how it's applied to the oscillator. So the LFO is applied to an oscillator. Here, let's hear it. Let's hear what I got going right now. Well, let's pull out the note. Let's make it even simpler. This is with nothing plugged into it. Let's start with that. Probably the best way to always start with something. So as you may have known or might not know, there's 3 outputs from the vampire. 1, and this is where you can switch your waveforms. And you can choose your waveforms there. You can see that the LFO So actually, with this set in these off positions in the middle, there should be no LFO activity to your oscillator. So you've got essentially pitch there, and then a second output here that is essentially the same, where you can choose the waveforms. But plus that, you could also blend them together, such as, say, add this one and then bring it up on a second channel and mix the tones together this way. So that's the most simplest entry point out of Vampire for the sound. How do you trigger the sound? This 1 volt per octave input is basically assigned to whatever pitch will come in. So if you've got a synthesizer, the CV out, you would put the CV signal into that 1 volt per octave input. And what that will create is, let's put a 1 volt per octave in here with a little sequence from the Metropolis down here into that thing, and listen to one of the channels. That's coming from there. Anyways, it's not to demonstrate the sequencer, but you can see that now we've got the note information coming in on the 1 volt per octave of the Vampire is its morph section. So the morph section is essentially a third output. When you switch how the audio is being morphed through this cycle, you'll then hear the results on the output. What I like to do is actually look at this as an audio input mixer to mix with the pulse width modulation oscillator. So I know that sounds complicated, but if you take like the signal of say any other oscillator and apply it to the external audio input, this is your level. This here is being input by this other oscillator over here, and this is the mixture of our tone, which we can acquire a mixture of this tone. What's really cool is to window this audio from the LFO. That's called windowing. So what's also one of my favorite things about the Vampire is hitting the 1 volt per octave with a mixture of envelopes. I know I've told this to a few people before, but basically if you take a bunch of envelopes being triggered at different rates, say by any sequencer, in this case the Varigate 8, and then sent to a mixer. I think you can see up here, they're being sent to a mixer. And then the mixing output, let's take that and apply that to the 1 volt per octave input on the Vampire. To apply an LFO to that actual, there's no LFO applied. It's just this button right here, linear, and the amount instant new drummer. So this is called the edge of the pulse width modulation. You can see that this is a mixture here. It says right there, pulse width or the morph select input. So that's a mixture right now of the pulse width modulation side of the oscillator, which is controllable by this pulse width modulation control. This is one edge, and this is another edge. This is the percentage of which modulation could be applied to that. And in order to apply another external modulation, you could patch. Oops. You patch from the LFO into the PMCB. Right there. See, you can get the pulse width to break almost completely apart. That's my favorite part about it. It's like underwear stretching. Yes, I did say underwear stretching. Listen to that. Stretch that undie. There is no effects on this, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. You are only hearing the vampire. Yes, true. So many things. Imagine, you know, I'm just running another oscillator through the input here. Imagine if you put like a, you know, a voice or something and mix that together. And you notice we're not using any of these two outputs either. So essentially, you could build a giant voice with this machine. Anyways, I think you can get the picture that I think like any sound is possible. Even So you can create a whole army basically with the vampire, and it's great fun too. Honestly, I'm not just on here just to try to sell it. I'm actually was involved in the development of it, and for a good reason, that I kind of wanted an oscillator to do what these two did earlier. I could do similar things with the Model 37 and the Model 15 at first, that, you know, I was kind of like wanting to do the a little more with, you know, the windowing and the audio inputs and so on like this really come from, you know, the next generation in line, which is of course is the vampire. And so this is really the next level of development. I'm going to go into the voice tail on another live stream, because in reality, the voice tail to me is, you know, a beast of its own. Somebody's saying, yeah, match that up. It absolutely. If I was to get real busy right now and hook up a few more cables and demo the voice tail, it might be overkill for today. But, you know, I just wanted to basically fulfill the promise of giving a proper demo of the vampire, because I don't think it's been done online, and I don't think that, you know, there's any harm in having it up there, especially for the Subcon collective like you guys. Yes. So if there's any other questions today, let me take it out of this thing. I can't really see your comments until I... Oh my God, they're all getting weird. Hang on, let me see here. Wow. Hey, I can't see the comments without moving the picture on. So yeah, the vampire is a limited edition oscillator, which means there isn't a million of them. As a matter of fact, my understanding is that currently there is only 210 vampires in the world. So if you've got one, you know, I'm very thankful that you supported it. Any one of our products, starting from here. We've been working on other modules coming up and have a few prototypes in the works, but they're coming up so soon that I wish I could say today, but they're not today. They're coming soon though. So I hope that this broadcast served you well and that you could hear me here from the studio. So I know it's past 4:20, but it's nevertheless always a good time to say 4:20.